Many salutations to viewers and coins of the vault alike. Thanks for stopping by and checking out this chapter and part. Don't forget to check out the description below for the open casting call that I will be holding for the duration of this story. In it, there will be a list of characters as well as a few lines that you can use for auditions. Some of these characters will have one-time appearances, others will be making appearances throughout the story and have yet to have a voice behind them. But we'll see. So until next time, my friends. Sly Cooper, Rise of Vexen. Written by Tatsumari Korisuno. Rear Garage, House of Ryu. 1:46 a.m. June 16th, 2016. Carmelita leaned against a pillar, staring at the oasis-themed landscaping of Ivan's house. She crossed her arms, trying not to beat herself up over attempting to steal something, or that she had royally messed up the heist.
It gets easier this time, Inspector,
Ivan said as he walked up behind her with a cup of hot tea in his hand for her, silently sipping his own.
You don't have to call me that anymore, Ivan,
Carmelita answered, putting her hands around the cup for warmth.
It's an old habit that will be hard to break,
he said, taking another sip of his tea.
What was it like when you first started stealing?
Ivan looked up into the sky, the twinkle in his eye becoming nostalgic as he sighed hard.
It's been many years. I can hardly remember such a time. I think the very first thing I stole was my Didus pocket watch. My family lived in Ukraine, and though we didn't have much, we lived well. However, Moty became ill when a bad winter had come. We didn't have enough money for a doctor to treat her, and so Batgo sold Didus' gold watch.
Ivan reached to the pocket on his vest and pulled out a beautiful gold pocket watch, pressing the button and flipping open the lid where a picture of a lovely wolf rested.
Is that your wife when she was younger?
Carmelita asked, moving closer to better see the picture.
No, this is Babusya just before Didus married her. He had this on the day he proposed to her, and it has been passed down ever since. Except when I stole it.
He chuckled, closing the lid and putting the watch back in his pocket.
Moty survived, and I began to teach myself the trade of thievery. My family didn't approve and disowned me soon after. At first, it felt wrong to take something that wasn't mine, but as time passed, it became easier.
Ivan tipped the cup all the way up and drank down the last mouthful.
My career didn't take off until I found a reason to steal.
And that was?
Those less fortunate in my home country. I would take the merchandise, sell it on the black market, and then send some money to families in need. Most consider these gifts from angels. That is why I became a thief.
He smiled, turning the cup in his hand this way and that, before putting a hand on Carmelita's shoulder.
I know you must be going through a harder time. You were once an officer of the law, but don't think about it too much. Find yourself a reason to be a thief, and stick with it.
Ivan smiled, patting her shoulder.
Let's go see what Bentley's uncovered,
he coaxed. Carmelita nodded, looking to the sky one last time and finding a twinkling star just as she happened to look at it. Once inside, Bentley could be heard sighing as he sat back in his wheelchair and dropped his hands to the armrests.
Any luck with the rock?
Carmelita asked, sitting beside Bentley as Murray walked in, wiping off his face and arms with a towel after using Ivan's home gym.
I haven't been able to get a lot, but from what writing remained on the stone, I was able to find that this tablet was made in the time of Akhenaten, one pharaoh before Tutankhamun. Going through the Thievius Raccoonus, I found that Sly's ancestor Sly Cooper I says that he remembers his youngest descendant being a bit overly confident, but a good addition to the Cooper name. But there is something rather strange later on,
Bentley said, composing himself once again and cradling his chin, pointing to a part of the book that depicted a slender canine with glowing eyes and what appeared to be sharp claws on his hands and feet.
The book goes on to say this person, had wings like that of Ra, and odium that ran deeper than the Nile. There's only one being out there that could even vaguely fit within that description, and that was Clockwork. But he's been dead for years.
Carmelita's blood ran cold. She remembered the ironclad owl and his strange obsession with Sly. But even then, Clockwork had already been reassembled once and taken over by Neela. Despite the deep involvement with that case, Carmelita never did find out what happened to Clockwork's corpse.
Not necessarily. From what I understand of Clockwork, he has been alive for centuries, using his own hate and jealousy to sustain his life. Perhaps Clockwork was alive then too.
Clockwork himself was a giant owl. If that is the case, then why does this particular description show a canine and not a fowl?
Carmelita answered, pointing to the hand-drawn picture within the book. Ivan looked over the image, careful not to read anything else that had to do with technique.
That is a good point, Inspector,
Ivan answered, crossing his arm and resting his elbow on it while contemplating the implications.
All that aside, I found this strange metallic dust on the stone. I'm not sure what it is, though. All my chemical analysis shows it's some form of dense alloy,
Bentley said, bringing up the molecular makeup of the metal.
There is only one place that I know of that would even be capable of producing this kind of alloy, and that is on the far northern coast of Germany, at least according to ThiefNet,
Bentley said when Ivan interjected.
A friend I worked with many years ago is up there. She might be able to give you better insight as to what is happening on the black side of Germany's development programs.
We'll need all the help we can get. I wonder what this has to do with Cooper, though.
Carmelita answered, putting a fist on her hip.
I don't know, but there are only a few people touching artifacts like this. The only other person to touch this was this Agent Hunter you were telling me about.
Ivan replied, looking through a Rolodex and finding a card with a stylized dragon's head on it, as well as a stack of neatly printed calling cards for Carmelita.
Every great thief leaves their mark, and you shouldn't be any different.
He smiled. Carmelita thanked him for the gifts and was about to get into Murray's rumbling van when she stopped and turned back to Ivan.
I almost forgot. How do we find this friend of yours?
Ivan smirked and slowly blinked.
You won't. She'll find you. Show her that card when she does. But the rest will be up to you.
The smile that Carmelita received was unsettling at best, but she had her mission to rescue Sly, and that was the only thing she needed to help control whatever fear she had.
This thieving life is much more dangerous than I imagined.
Carmelita thought as she sat down and the three of them raced off down the road towards Germany.